How do you make sure that your cold emails resonate?
We would say your traditional sales email that's long and full of words do not work.
Within your outbound process, what do you think is the most difficult aspect?
Truthfully, I'm not in sales. I want 1,000 meetings by March of 2024. If you don't like it, you can cancel in 24 hours. We win when you win, and so we're on your team.
Hi everyone, we are here with one of our favorite customers, Veth Group, to talk and learn about what it's like to work in a lead generation agency. Let's start with generating leads for your clients. What are the common challenges that you see and how do you solve them?
Sure. Well, really, I think with solving leads, really there's kind of 3 levers that you have to pull on. So one is getting the tech stack right, making sure the emails deliver to the inbox. Second would be data, making sure you're finding the right targets and getting the right prospects for your clients. And then the last one would be creativity and copy, and how do you get a message that breaks through the noise and catches attention to get responses.
I would say one of the biggest challenges we face with our clients is depending on the client size. That also affects their client pool. So some of our smaller clients can't reach out to as many people as some of our bigger clients can. So it's a question of, well, how can we creatively pull more prospects for them so that outreach is meaningful and intentional when we only have like 500 people to send to versus some of our bigger clients who have tens of thousands of people we can send to. Again, how do we keep the pools meaningful and make sure everyone's happy?
Absolutely. To Aislin's point, each client is different, so there's no set way to pull on all 3 of those levers. You kind of have to customize it to each client and their needs and what they're looking for.
You guys mentioned creativity, yeah? That is one of the pillars, the 3 pillars that you mentioned, and grabbing a prospect's attention. Could you elaborate a little bit on what tactics do you use, what things work from your experience, what doesn't work?
Yeah, we would say your traditional sales email that's long and full of words do not work. People see those and see sales and immediately don't take the time to read through it. So you want to make sure it's shorter in general, but also making sure you're getting the value across. So it's kind of a balance of how do you get your value proposition across, but also keep it readable and light and human. How do you come across not like an AI bot, but like a person who's actually reaching out, and usually that looks like some element of humor or personalization to come through.
And subject lines are important because that's the first thing that they see in their inbox.
You mentioned personalization as one of the points. How do you make sure that your cold emails resonate with prospects? Like what set of data do you use, or do you make sure that to use some triggers?
Mm-hmm. So I think we found with personalization, our CEO, we were just talking about the law of diminishing returns. Like sometimes the effort to make it more personalized, there's a certain point where a little bit of personalization goes a really long way for the amount of work that it takes. And then as you get more and more personalized, the effect is a little bit less and less as you kind of keep going. So we want to find that sweet spot of how do we send out emails in a scalable way, so you can send to lots of people where it's not super time consuming to do each email manual, because if each one was personalized to that person entirely, that's amazing, but also requires a lot of time to put that in. So we've been working with tools like Clay with different AI to pull different details about different clients, and just kind of experimenting with what does one line of personalization look like, maybe mentioning a local restaurant near them, near their office, or something super personal, different activities and experiences they've had on their LinkedIn profile or other places as well.
And sometimes we can even go broader than that. So personalization definitely works with smaller lists, but for some of our bigger lists, or if we're sending regionally, so like just for example, I'm from Massachusetts, so something that might catch my attention is if someone mentions like the Boston Red Sox, because not everyone is going to know who they are or what they do. So the fact that somebody included that, I'm like, oh, that's a Massachusetts shout out. Like I know what they're talking about. So we'll also use some of those tactics in our email. So like depending if you're from the South, the West Coast, different cultural things will resonate more with people. And so from a mass scale, how can we incorporate those if we don't have the time to get really personal with each individual, to then do it on like a state or geographical basis too.
And for the clients who have, like you mentioned, a smaller pool of prospective customers, do you spend more time on getting the message, more creative or more personalized, just to make the chances of getting a reply higher?
I think it depends on a case-by-case basis. Like some clients definitely, and then other clients we just use what practices work, and then they just, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So.
So okay, you established, you send your emails out, and let's say you get a response. And how do you determine whether, or when do you determine that the prospect is ready to buy, or whether you have to dig deeper? Like, what are your strategies there, and how do you recognize that it's okay, this is a person, or this is a potential client for my client?
So we forward everything to our clients and kind of let them decide what they want to go after. And we have some clients that will chase every lead down, even the leads that we would say probably aren't leads. And then we have other clients who are very selective and want to double qualify before they spend time with them. But really, we encourage, the more at-bats that you have, the more chances are for opportunity. So we try to encourage our clients and their sales teams to chase down every lead, hopefully kind of weeding out most of the ones that wouldn't be a fit in the beginning with how we're targeting and prospecting the campaigns from the start.
Do you send them with your suggestions, like this person might not be yet ready, but you send them anyway for them to decide, or do you just send them over?
It comes in real time, so as it responds, we try to filter as little as possible so that they can respond as soon as possible. Because I think if we take the time to vet them out, it's a longer delay before the prospect's getting an answer. And so how do we help our clients respond timely as much as possible?
Let's talk about different industries and different segmented markets. Yeah? Does your strategy change inherently? Are there changes to your strategy? Are you using a similar approach to different markets? Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I would say, yeah. Two of, at least anecdotally, what I notice with my clients are two of the biggest sectors are manufacturing and more manual labor folks versus those who are more likely to be behind a computer. Not everybody is going to be attracted to the same things, and so it's important to understand even from the beginning when you're pulling data, what message is going to resonate most with these people, or how, when we're segmenting campaigns, what industries make the most sense to include with each other. So it wouldn't make sense to include the same copy for manufacturing folks, so like aviation and aerospace, as it would be to include them in the same campaign as like maybe accounting or banking, like just for reference. Whereas accounting and banking might make more sense to include with somebody who's in legal services. Like that message might resonate more with that pocket of people as opposed to with aviation and aerospace. So industries do play a really important role.
I'd say even the titles of who you reach out to can make a big impact. Like HR people tend to be a lot more like friendly in their responses versus other departments at the company where people. So just how you come to people and how much detail you provide. Some of our clients, like if you're reaching out to highly technical titles, you might want to come with more of a technical outreach. Not all the time, but if you're reaching out to a CEO and you're going too much into the technical side of things, that won't always communicate well either. So you just kind of want to know who you're talking to and think about your audience and what would resonate with them and what's important to them as you're kind of crafting the messaging.
So main segmentation is around industry, and sometimes you're able to basically group them because they're similar tone of voice and words. And then the second is role, right? And these are your main segmentations, or do you have any more segments that you build when it comes to messaging?
So a lot of our clients like to get really segmented, and we try to keep it as like scalable as possible to do it more like how can you do something that's personal to a larger group of people rather than getting super specific. But for our smaller clients, we will get more segmented because you need to get higher response rate off smaller lists. But I think overall, if it's smaller companies might have different titles we go after than larger companies too. So just like getting to know the client and who's a good fit for them to be talking to, I think we just learn a lot from our clients who usually know who is a right fit for them in the start.
And what does it take to keep a customer happy with the company?
Making besties.
So I do. I have the habit of referring to some of my clients as my besties in layman's terms, like my best friends. something that was important to me when even coming to my role was how can I really develop relationships with my clients beyond what I do with work? Because at the end of the day, my clients are also not just my clients, they're fathers, uncles, mothers, sisters. They have lives outside of work, but what we do in work sometimes can impact their lives. So if the business is successful, obviously they may be at a better place than if they're struggling. That might also correlate into their personal lives. So I think building relationships with clients is very important just beyond what you're there to do at the end of the day. Just because it also makes conversations easier. So I can ask, oh, how was your son's baseball game this weekend? Or how was your daughter's weightlifting shop this past weekend? Because I know she was practicing for that. I think that also then makes it easier to sort of bear heavy news or if something's not working, to have that sort of personal understanding and trust that we know each other and we sort of both have investments in one another's success. So how can I communicate an issue or something that may not be as easy to swallow as it should be? So I would say obviously building trust, loyalty, and then just being honest. Like I always put myself on the other end. So if I were the client, what would I want to be told and how would I want it to be told? And a lot of people don't want the sunshine and rainbows, like, oh, everything's fine, everything's great. And it's like, no, there's an issue. We're going to be honest. There's something wrong. But, and this is always the biggest but, you should always have some solution in place to then show them, well, this is how we're going to fix it. So if you can't say yes, we always make the joke that it's a maybe yes. So like, oh, you know, we don't want to ever say no to somebody, but maybe, but this is how we can do it. Or if we do notice like a bigger issue impacting a client's campaign, this is what's going wrong, but these are X, Y, and Z of how we're going to fix it and the steps that we're going to take to attempt to correct it.
Yeah, just being open and honest and having that visibility with them, I think goes a long way, as Aislinn said.
Yeah, I think it would go very differently if you just say like, this is broken, you know,
Yeah.
and not follow up with how you can fix it.
Or even if you don't know, like because there are many times that we run into issues where we don't know the solution and we're seeing this for the first time or we're coming across this question for the first time and we don't know how to solve it. And even saying that to clients is okay. It's like, I truthfully don't know what's going on, but I'm going to ask my other coworkers who may know more than I do what their sort of involvement with this is, or if they have any knowledge of this. Or we're going to do some research to see, well, if we don't know and if Veth Group doesn't know, who out there does know and who can help us figure this out. Because again, I think I'd rather be told, well, I don't know, but this is what I'm going to do to try and solve it for you, as opposed to, I don't know, figure it out yourself. So.
And I think clients also appreciate proactivity. So like bringing issues or problems up with them and offering those solutions before they bring it up to you. I think that also goes a long way. Shows that you're keeping eyes on their accounts, making sure that they're all good, instead of them feeling like they have to bring up the issues. We can be proactive and reach out to them and handle those things, and that builds that trust as well.
And I think keeping clients happy, like ultimately, in our business model, we do 24-hour cancellation policies. So we don't do any contracts or long-term lock-ins, and you know, we want to be accountable for our clients to win. And so we always say, like, you know, we win when you win. And so we're on your team and we're like, you know, fighting for you, rooting for you. We've got your back. And so we're watching things. We want to make sure it's successful. So I think just aligning that and that shared, like, we're in it together. We'll figure it out together, even if we need to pivot, and like being honest. So as if you hired someone a full-time person on your team to do this, you know, there might be ups and downs, but it's a partnership and you're working through it together. So how do we just feel like part of your team and treat you, serve you well, and also treat you like anyone that, you know, we're working together, we're not opposed. So
because you mentioned relationship so often and, you know, so much in depth, and from what you're saying, it sounds like it helped you to go through hard times sometimes. And, you know, it's always helpful to, you know, be able to utilize that relationship fabric. Do you have a process, or do you measure, like when you have a new client, how much relationship has been built? Is this one of the metrics? Are you trying to kind of figure out how strong is that relationship fabric?
So I'd say we're a young company, and so a lot of it's just in our, you know, it's in your head or heart, or you're kind of getting this like judgment
the gut
for
feeling.
But as we're scaling, it's kind of hard for everybody to have the same gut feeling, like to distill our CEO's gut feeling about different clients when he hasn't met them all now, or as we're growing and getting big, how do we continue to grow that? But I think from the sales process all the way to the end, like we want to look for people who have a partner mentality, and so if we have clients that if they're in it to partner with us and are invested in it, I don't know, usually we want to build a relationship and we value that loyalty, and just how do we make the experience for them as great as possible.
So some sort of like the willingness to cooperate, for instance. Okay.
And since we're talking about clients, how do you get new clients for the agency?
Well, we do this for our clients, so we can do it for ourselves as well. That's kind of like the general rule that we go for, is if it doesn't work for us, why would it work for our clients? And so making sure we can get our sales working for our company through the kinds of messaging we're using and the targeting we're doing, and through our Woodpecker campaigns. And so we have outbound campaigns that we do, and then also our CEO has a really strong LinkedIn brand as well, where we get a lot of inbound leads, but it's also just a great way to nurture leads. So as we get all these conversations started, maybe people aren't ready to close or buy day one, but through getting connected on LinkedIn and seeing our content a lot, it's top of mind, and we just try to be really authentic on what it's like to work with us and who we are as a company on there. And I think showing people what it's like to work with us before they're even a client, and a lot of that's through generosity of let me send you a data list before we're even partners, as you can see what we're doing, things like that.
Within your outbound process, what do you think is the most difficult aspect, or some difficult aspects, when you try to find new clients for yourself? Yeah?
Well, truthfully, I'm not in sales.
I would say a challenge might be expectations. So understandings of success and what success looks like to prospective clients. So for example, we can lay out how many leads do you expect to earn or see on a monthly basis. And if somebody says a realistic number, we're like, okay, there's someone that we can work with, we can actually quantify this number, or we can achieve it. If somebody says completely unrealistic, like I want 1,000 meetings by March of 2024, maybe, but they may not be the best partner for us, because if they have very hard, serious expectations that we know in practice can't be necessarily delivered upon, that just helps eliminate them from our profile. Or if we've run into this issue too, where they don't even know who their ideal client is or who they should be targeting, and sometimes that can be tricky for us in terms of understanding how much data we have to pull for them. So if they don't know who their ideal target base, we can sort of help and guide them towards that, but we may not also have an answer, so that might not be a perfect fit of a client for us.
We really want to be low cost and low risk for our clients, and so that's part of why we're month to month, but no contracts. We want it to work and we want to generate a lot of leads. How do we get the cost per lead as low as possible for our clients? And so if we have a client that's too small, just as a business, and they're financially in a spot where it's a little bit more high risk for them to be invested, sometimes we just recommend some ideas for them to get started on their own before they kind of take the leap, because there's more pressure on our service team then for that client. We want to make sure you can't make any promises in lead gen, and you don't know how the sales call will go once you book it for your client. And so we just want to make sure we're taking care of them and doing what's best for them, even if it's not working with us at the time. Because they might grow and there might be another day when it is the right time, but just want to make sure it's a good fit all around.
So from what you guys said, for fit, you're looking for willingness, cultural fit. Then we're looking for the size, so if they have enough budget to run. Then we're looking for goals and expectations, if you can meet those. And then the last one was if they have defined an ICP for themselves already or not.
Yep. And sometimes we help them figure out their ICP.
Yeah, that was my question. How within the goals and expectations and the ICP section, those two things, because these are typically negotiable, or you could induce change management, right? You could help them to, adjust those expectations. Do you go into that process? How deep do you go into this process? And what are you how do you try to convince them, if you try to convince them?
Yes. So I would say usually, so we are the customer support team. So usually we're not on this conversation, but as a company, we definitely do have those calls. And I think just establishing a lot a lot of what we do exceeds expectations for our clients, and so it's usually not too hard, or that's usually not a huge problem we run into, but sometimes clients have these big ideas of what we can do, and just reminding them, what is possible, and giving them tools. What are their goals, understanding their goals, how can we help them, are their goals realistic, and why do they have those goals set where they have them, or what pressures are they facing to meet those goals. So I think it's just a broader conversation, and we can scale up and we can try to do more, or supply other resources to help them.
So you mentioned in your copy that you also provide value, right? Before you maybe ask for something. What kind of strategies do you use there? Like, what kind of value do you provide that showcases your expertise and can harness that you have had successful customers? Are there any strategies you use?
Yeah, so I think reciprocity is just something we value, in being generous. And so sometimes we'll write, part of our business we do LinkedIn branding, and so our CEO might write a post for that client that they can post and take with them, or we might do a video shoot and take some video clips that the client can post to their LinkedIn or social page. Those are just little ways of giving content. We can build a list and send a sample list of the ICP or work with them that way. Just little things like that, or even sending a direct mail gift, something to show them the kinds of stuff we could send for them through the mail for their prospecting, things like that.
So if you have a client that says, okay, what you guys presented to me and what you're showing me, your approach won't work for me, or there's objection. Are you going against that? Are you trying to convince them, or is that okay? If the other side says, okay, this doesn't work for me, you're not fighting for the client. You say, okay, mutually you don't fit, so we don't have to really cooperate at this moment. Or are you having a process to try and kind of break through that first objection that you hear?
Yeah, I think again.
Not sales.
We're not sales. Our CEO is amazing to watch him in sales, but a lot of times people come to us with already knowing their need. And I think at different points in the business when we were younger, probably our sales process has matured as well. And there's different times of supply and demand when you'll be chasing every lead and trying to show them no, but really, really. But I think now we're kind of at a point where it's a lot here's what we can do. We're trying to make our offer as low risk as possible in our sales presentation. What kinds of objections could you have, and how do we meet those? But lead gen, for the most part, how we're doing it, we're trying to do it in a way that's pretty
transparent
and hard to object to, because if you don't like it, you can cancel in 24 hours. And we want the pressure to be on us, not on you or taking a big leap. So we try to make it as easy, low barrier to join as well.
In your current market, do you see, because you mentioned LinkedIn is one of the branches you started to exploring and working on, especially Miles. Are there any growth opportunities you see as a lead generation agency in the coming years where you could, also go into, if you can share, strategies you could say, okay, as a lead generation agency, it would be worth trying this, branch, this approach, this channel that you see as an upcoming trend nowadays?
I think we're always innovating with technology and the tech stack, and how do we continue to build a system of tech that's unstoppable or hard to, make sure it will deliver. So deliverability is something that's important to us. And then with creativity, how do you get more personalized at scale, and how do you do it in a way that's repeatable? And so we're utilizing different AI tools to pull different information, and how do we continue to be creative in that way as well? And just out of the box thinking, how do we do weird things that's what do you mean someone sent me a lightsaber to tell me how we're going to do things? So just I think keeping that element of creativity going and trying lots of things. And we have a lot of different products or ideas that we try that go well, some don't go well, but just always trying to innovate and think of the next.
So you would say a lot of testing, to kind of break through the noise.
A lot of trial and error.
Okay. That basically fits very well with how do you stay competitive as a company? One of the things is your creativity, right? As a company, are there any other aspects that you use to kind of be ahead of your competition, position yourself uniquely in the market as a lead generation agency?
So just
constantly innovating, constantly not being afraid to try new things, even if it doesn't work out sometimes, just constantly be testing, trying things and see what works.
I think also having the humility to know that we may not be the best option for a prospective client. So we may not be, we always like to think we're the best in the business, and I think we're the best in the business, but there may be others who are doing things differently or better in some capacities for clients. So we always love to also do market research. So just to see what competitors are doing or what their offerings look like in comparison to ours, to see, well, how can we improve our own services based off of what we're seeing, but then also how can we differentiate ourselves? So what are a majority of people doing that that aren't doing that we can then do instead? So where is there a need in the market that we identify that we can then step into and try and sort of be the trailblazers, I guess, in that aspect. So Miles is very creative when it comes to those things.
So how do you differentiate apart from the creative testing that you already mentioned? Are there any other ways?
I think being low cost, like how do we get the cost per lead as low as possible? So how do we deliver as many leads as possible and just continue to drive for results? And then also I think service and just being like, how do we also not compromise service or stay available, like our clients, we have calls, some clients weekly calls, some clients, have Slack access to us. How do we continue to provide the best service? And I think we're kind of figuring that out, like how do we, in a scalable way, not compromise on the experience and service that our clients are getting, but also make sure we're getting results and kind of pair those things together and for a good experience for our clients.
And I think the 24-hour cancellation policy as well, like not getting them looped into any sort of contracts. They can cancel at any time if they feel they're not getting the results that we want. That way we have that chance to prove ourselves. I think that makes a big difference too, and it helps build that trust as well.
I think a lot of clients have been burned by marketing agencies in the past who promise the world and get them stuck in these long-term contracts. And so we just want to be different in that way of like, we're not locking you in, we're operating ethically, honestly, transparently, and we're going to try to help you succeed as best we can and really like partner with you moving forward.
And if you were to give advice to a new agency on how to establish their authority in the early days, what would you say to them?
I think the proof is in the pudding. Okay. Can you generate leads and do it in a way that's effective and scalable? And I think the scalability, I think, is the hardest part because you can do one person for 40 clients can become a lot harder to manage than when you're just one person helping one or two clients. So how do you not compromise quality through scaling?
Also say have fun with it. Like I know it's work at the end of the day, but it's also fun. Like you're there to be creative, you're there to experiment. So have fun with it, have fun with your clients. A lot of times if it doesn't work out with a client at one point, they may come back down the road. And we've had clients come back or have just complimented us and say, we've had such a great experience with you all because of the service that we receive. So if anything, you would love to leave a lasting impression with somebody. So they may not be a fit, but they may refer somebody instead to be, we're not working right now, but I have this person in mind who would be fantastic for you all. So I think just leaving a good impression, and everybody can also serve a higher purpose than you may initially think it would.
Yeah, not burning any bridges. Mm-hmm. And I think we always, even clients that, maybe we end on a note that's not favorable, we always try to do on the very end, like even be generous in our parting and kind and always treat our clients with kindness until the end and generosity, often doing things that would be radical or crazy to other companies that we would do for a client who's leaving, but just wanting to maintain a positive relationship with them.
I also think that if your work is fun for you, it shows, even during some meetings, some calls, you're talking to a client and like they see your energy, they see you're passionate, and like one of you mentioned, it leaves a lasting impression. That might lead to other referrals and maybe work in the future.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, my goal with a client would be that they come excited to our meetings, that they're looking forward to our Wednesday morning chats, because that's a space that we can really share, collaborate, and grow together with, rather than them dreading like, oh, I have the Veth call next Friday, like, oh, I hate this. I don't want to go to it. Like, I want them to be excited and to be, oh, I'm really excited for a call. I'm excited to talk with Aislinn, Jenna, Katie, Emily. I'm excited to see what's going on and to hear what ideas they have.
And I think that's another part about like building relationships too, is like the calls aren't always just about like work. It's like, you know, how was your weekend? Like, what are you doing? So it's more natural, more of a conversation, and that really makes a difference, and just having fun with it.
Do you have, when you manage your clients, do you have like success plans that you utilize, or because those meetings that you said they should look forward to, right? Do you have like a goal set up with them, things for them also to do? Do they have an action plan on themselves that they need to contribute for their success?
Mm-hmm. I give my clients homework sometimes. I'm like, this is your homework for the night. I need this back by the end of the week, or I need this back before we meet next time. I hope it's done on time. And if I don't see it, you're stepping into the office. There's gonna be, no, okay. But yeah, I think just as much as they have expectations from us, we also have expectations for them. So timeliness is also really wonderful. When a client can get us something back in a timely manner, that also makes the meetings easier. And I think also, again, just trying to make things as easy for our clients as possible. So they may request us to send something that we've sent 10 million times before. And in the moment, you know, removing the customer service side, I'm like, I just sent this to them. Like, now this is the 12th time that I'm sending the same document. How do they not have this? But it's, you take a moment, take a breath, you're like, hi, so-and-so, happy Wednesday. Here's the document again. Also gonna forward the other thread where you can also find it. Let me know if you have any questions. Best, Aislinn. And again, just trying to be as kind as possible, because I could be rude. I could say, yeah, here's the document, or I've already sent it. You don't need me to send it again. So.
Yeah, or some people will be passive-aggressive, you know, like I mentioned in my last email.
Or 9 last emails.
As per my last email, please see attached above. Yeah.
Or here are the timestamps or the times where I sent you the document.
Here's a screenshot of the receipt of me sending this to you at noon.
Yeah, so stay human, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because everyone, you know, makes a mistake.
Yeah.
But I mean, if 12 times they haven't received it, maybe you want to address it as homework.
Yes. Then there might be a deeper problem
could indicate
going on that we might need to chat about. But yeah, no.
Do you guys use other channels than cold email for your clients or for your own outbound?
We've experimented with more so like LinkedIn branding, posting on LinkedIn. We recommend doing it daily. That's how we get a lot of inbound leads and maintain a lot of relationships. So we think that's huge, and we've started offering as a service to our clients, like LinkedIn branding as a service, where we're writing all of the copy and posting on your behalf for you, or sending you the post for you to post. So that's something that we're experimenting with. And then we do a little bit of direct mail. We've had different ideas throughout the years, and just how do you combine lots of channels. So how do you, reach out via email, but then connect with them on LinkedIn, and now you're sending them a gift a few weeks out of a book that you read, and with a chapter highlighted that you specifically thought of them for, and like these little touches that go a long way, kind of using them all together. And we even do podcasting for our clients, or standing up low-cost podcasts and interviews, because sometimes reaching out to prospects, instead of just asking for a sales call or a sales demo, asking to have them on as a guest can just be another way to start a relationship and build a relationship that's a little bit less intimidating than a sales call.
Do you see that when you're doing multiple touches on many different channels, does that work better than just 2 channels or 1 channel?
I think when it comes to nurturing prospects, the multiple channels work really well. So ideally, like a positive is somebody who's yes to a meeting, like Tuesday, 11:15, booked, ready to go. A nurture might be somebody who's like, oh, I'm not ready now, but maybe in the long term, you could reach out again. And I think the multiple channel approach works best with the nurture prospects, just because if they're not ready now, keeping them engaged with your LinkedIn, so connecting with them and then seeing your posts over the months may remind them that you exist, and that, oh, we weren't ready when I talked to them last month, but now it's been 2 months and I'm ready for it. And podcasting really helps too to build relationships, because it's not a sales call, but you're talking about topics that are relevant to your industry or relevant to your companies, and things that you can share and mutually agree on. And also, people just like talking about what they do, and they love to be passionate, and they love to share everything about it. So that also helps when you're going into the conversation with, I'm ready to learn from you. I want to hear all about what you do and what sparks joy in your day. So podcasting is something that we've seen success with. But again, I think it's layering the email with the podcasting, with the LinkedIn. Just the more ways you can get in front of somebody, I think the better outcome.
Yeah, and I think we just learned like persistence and creativity to break through the noise go a really long way. And so reaching out in different ways than everybody else and reaching out consistently and to build a relationship is important. And so there's a ton of ways you can reach out that don't cost, like they cost time to be thoughtful about, but they might be small things, even just like referring them business or making introductions or, commenting on, if you know where they're from, reaching out when there's a bad storm just because you thought of them when this happened, or little things like that that can further a relationship that take 2 seconds to do on our end.
You mentioned that you have a lot of leads now from LinkedIn. Do you have other inbound channels, and have they moved to the background? Is LinkedIn very successful, or is LinkedIn a small percentage of your inbound? Do you know anything about that?
I think referrals, like personal referrals and networking, and our LinkedIn is like 100. We don't do, our website is not very polished right now. We don't really do many other inbound marketing.
No, not
at all.
Really, no.
Yeah, no blog posts, no, besides the podcast post, right?
Yeah, we do the podcast, and really we use them more as sales development tools. And so we're not even using it as marketing content necessarily, more so just for the relationship building aspect of it. But could be an area for us to explore.
So LinkedIn it is.
Yeah.
For inbound.
At least for us, for what we do. And obviously outbound is kind of what we specialize in. And so we've been able to grow mostly 100% through outbound, but also networking. And just, I think when you have a client and you treat them well and take care of them well, they like to tell their friends. And so it's an easy product to like grow with referrals as well. Mm-hmm.